wide angle lenses, you know, people all the time want to talk about how wide angle lens is, oh, what's the right word? Necessary. And I don't know that they're necessary, you know, but I have a plethora of them. Like there's the 28 mil, and then the 24 mil. I like to pull the lens caps off. And then finally, the big bad boy 20 millimeter. Now, I don't have anything wider than 20 mil for full frame, because once you start getting into those really wide lenses, hey, how you doing? It starts getting really weird. I mean, 20 millimeters on a full frame camera is weird. How you doing tonight? Yeah. But, excuse me. I want to talk a little bit tonight about full frame lenses and wide angle full frames. How you doing, Maxim? Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate that. Over here, I can see the chat information on the screen. I'm gonna grab that glass of water right quick. Uh-oh. Did it fall? Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Get it leveled back up. Oh, sorry about that. There we go. Now I'm back. Had to have a little bit of water. Funny story from today is I got up this morning, got in the shower, got all soaked up, water cuts off. Yeah, completely shut off on me today. Come to find out, the well pump pressure switch had stuck in the off position. And I went, got out, dried off, put on some clothes, go outside, take my flashlight that I went under the house where the well pump pressure switch is, pecked on it, comes on. It was just stuck. Figures. Go back upstairs, finish all that, because I cannot stand to be soapy all day, even if I dried it off. It just drives you nuts. You got your blanket? But I've had this question before, and I've wondered myself, is like, how wide is too wide of a wide angle lens? At what point does it get just too crazy? You know, and I've got a few examples here. Here's a 28 mil. I shoot a 28 millimeter a lot. That's pretty much my favorite widest angle lens, because I also have a 24 mil. You know, there's the 28 to 24 comparison. These are both f2.8 lenses. And then, of course, going from the 28 to the Mac Daddy 20 mil, it's also an f2.8. These all being the same aperture, it kind of gives you an idea of the spherical element of the lens. You know, you got, if I got them in sequence, you'd have the 28, 24, and then 20 in line there. You can kind of tell the lenses. Teresa, watch out for that cord. Teresa, thank you. I said watch out for that cord. This is causing me great tribulations. I'll set it up again. Y'all gonna have to bear with me, because she's over here with a blanket dragging it around on top of the cord and thinking it's funny. She's over there laughing at me. But I think personally, my favorite widest lens is the 28. I've used it on full frame, and you know, once you drop it on the crop sensors, it acts a lot more like about a 35, 38 mil lens. And to me, this is about the magic focal length. So Kelly's wrote in and says he usually considers less than 24 to be fun lenses. Oops, I hate it when it does that. Rather than useful. Says that the shot he posted earlier was with a 19 millimeter perspective control. Those are really weird lenses. Those perspective control lenses are. I a 24 and I have rarely used it. Maxim says nothing is too wide as long as you keep the camera level. True, because if you can't keep the camera level, it shows up quick the wider you go. I noticed that the other day. I was having a lot of trouble shooting some candids, and there's a line in that church house, and you could easily see if it wasn't level, and I was shooting as wide as possible at times, and it was showing up rapidly. Yeah, that's what I found too. The 28 millimeter seems to be like a great general purpose lens on a crop center camera. Matter of fact, I keep one of these. I keep the AIS in the bag with the gear all the time. And that way I always have it with me because that's one of my go-to lenses. This AI lens is a great lens. It's not as great as the AIS, but it still takes really good pictures. That's because it's in the diagonal of the format. Yeah. Yeah, it's always cutting the center out of the photo so you don't get the corner issues. But these lenses perform exceedingly well. And this lens is cheap. The AI ones are even cheaper. Man, you can get these things for like nothing. Less than $100 for the AIs. You know, the AIS brings more because they're more popular, but this 24 mil, I bought this one in it was a yard sale somewhere. I got this one for like $25, which it's got some issues. I think it's an AIS. Let me see. Is it the right color to be an AIS? Yeah, it's an AIS. But the 24 mil isn't like as magical as the 28 millimeter is. You know, if you look at the test charts, the 28 millimeter is like Nikon's pinnacle of lens design, and the 24 millimeter is not. But it still takes a really good photograph. It works really well as long as you stop it down a little bit, you know, and you don't get the sun directly in the frame. It takes a really good photo, but it just doesn't draw me like the 28 does for some reason. I don't know. But then when I was thinking I was going to do the landscape thing, I bought one of these creatures, the 20 millimeter. This one being a D series. I don't know why you'd want the D, but but it's autofocus. We've used it. I used it taking some landscape photos when we went out west, which is the reason I bought it. And then I used it doing a family portrait. Did I print me a copy of that book? I think I did. But it was handy for that because we was able to get everybody in frame and get the whole family. And there was about 40 of us in that photo. 16, what crud. There we go. 16 to 35 F4s are now uniformly good regardless of who makes it. Might as well have one along with the 28 to 70 to 105 and the 1 to 400. Yeah, that covers all the bases. Which I like the 35 to 70 Nikkor, the original D series 35 to 70 zoom from the late 90s, early 2000s. I actually have two or three. I think I only have two of them. But great lens for the money. You know, you lose that lower side, you know, since it's 35 to 70 and instead of 24 to 70 or whatever. I think it's 35 to 70. But it's push-pull zoom. And that great piece of glass. They're heavy. That's the drawback to them. So if you're in it for lightweight, it's not the lens for you because they're all aluminum and lots of glass, you know, because they're f2.8 constant aperture. And I like that about that lens, but like I said, I don't mind the weight. You know, right now I weigh 204 pounds. You know, I'm 6'2", fairly fit guy for someone who's turning 50 next week. So I don't mind a 2-pound lens. Ain't a big deal to me, but for some people it's a big deal. You know, and the newer plastic lenses make them happier. I see. It says Max is a Bernie, bro, careful around him. Oh no, someone long riders picking on you, Maxim. Tend to prefer to stitch 4 to 5 vertical, and that's something I want to learn to do. Is stitch together basically panos to create a wider landscape. I'm telling you again, 28 to 50 f3.5 macro zoom for from about 84 sweet. No bigger than a modern 50 millimeter prime. Sweet. Oh no, Maxim threw down the gauntlet. Oh, he's a pano prodigy. I took a picture of the Milky Way with this lens, and I wished I knew how to post-process the Milky Way right. I've watched some videos on it, and to people to get the color in them. I got mine to come out of the background, but I wound up making the sky blue to do it. It looks good to me. You know, it's my version, but it's not as pretty as some of those beautiful, colorful Milky Ways, which I have found out isn't what it looks like through the camera when you take the photo. That's all in post-process, and it looks good. I mean, I hung it in the living room. I was proud of it. Which, let me see. I'll show it to you. It's right here. This is my Milky Way picture. Oh, look, I got the. If I get the angle right, you don't get the glare. But I pushed this out. We actually was driving up the road and I saw this. This was the way it looked. If I get the light to get rid of the glare, the sun had just set and these clouds had formed along the top of this ridgeline. This was like a 30-foot tall embankment on the side of the road, and them bushes were growing along the top edge of it, and them clouds were just over the edge, and the sun was behind me, had just crossed the horizon. It was still kind of making them clouds glow a little bit. I can't get it to show up, but it turned out. And I just pulled over on the side of the road because I looked out the windshield and saw it. I had never been able to visually see it out east. Out here, there's too much light pollution. And we were just outside White Sands, New Mexico, going up the mountain. And I just literally happened to look out the window and saw it. And it just blew my mind. And the first opportunity I pulled over on the side of the road, literally set the tripod up beside the car and took this photo. And there was a satellite drew me a pretty line right there. Let's see if I can get the light right. You can see where the satellite passed through frame right here. And drew me a line right through the middle of it. But it's my picture of the Milky Way, and I like it. But yeah. And of course I did a 20 by 30 print and hung it in the living room, but I liked it. Let's see. Definitely looking at that 28-50. Me too. I want to see what that 28 to 50 looks like as well. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've got a lens I'm testing that I'm gonna take with me on our trip. That's I'm gonna review my 20mm 2.8D and this 24 in the not too distant future, by the way. But I'm gonna add them to the reviews. But I've got one that I'm gonna shoot that's a 50 to 150 or 50 to 100 zoom. Ken Rockwell has an article about all the lenses. I'll read his stuff. I mean, he does a lot of technical test charts and things, you know, and gives you, like, he shoots the gray card with a gray background to get the light fall off. He does some pretty technical stuff. And sometimes it's not perfectly scientific, but it gives you a good reference. I like his mantra, though, about, you know, don't burden yourself down with so much equipment that you forget about the reason that you're a photographer, about capturing the moment. You know, that's why he shoots in JPEG. He just wants to capture the image, you know, and just move on. He doesn't want to spend a ton of time post-processing. And I'm a lot like that. Some pictures I'll want to play with in processing. When I get the photo, I have it in my head that I want to play with this or that and play with the shadow controls and things, and I'll take that photo for that reason. But a lot of times if I'm capturing memories, I just want them well exposed to where we can print them at a reasonable size. I ain't gonna I ain't gonna print them 20 by 30, but you know, a few of them I do. I printed that Tom Turkey 20 by 30 and hung it in the living room for about 6 months. It got to the point to where when I took it down, the girls complained. Yeah, I have my currently other here. I have a sunset over here, and I don't wander off. Over here on the wall is a sunset in Hawaii that I took. And in the other room, I have a night photo of Flagstaff, Arizona that's a little bit out of focus, but I still like it because it kind of gives you that moody nighttime. There's a train flowing through it. It looks like a big snake because it was about a 30-second exposure, I think. All of that was done. I think I did them. I think the Western trip we did, I had the D7000. I might have had the D810 by then. I did because I had this 20 mil. Now, what was the trip I did with the D7000? Another one of our trips we took on, I took the D7000 on, I remember, but there. You just stumbled across it in the used lens section. Long Rider's on you again, Max. You're not happy until you double process them, huh? You know how those old time film guys to do the double exposure, yeah. Oh, and then of course, work your film. But yeah, that picture was taken with this lens. But I haven't used this one much since then. Like I said, we took that group photo with it because it was convenient. We was able to get everybody in the shot inside a room because of the lens's capability. But as far as just general shooting, I just don't use the 20 hardly at all. Yeah, for street, you have to get so close to fill the frame with a person at 20 millimeter. You're almost in their personal space, or you are really. You have to get really close at 20 millimeters on full frame. You know, this is a 30 mil on a crop sensor. That's still a pretty good long focal length in reality, but on full frame, it gets starting to get a little bit weird at 20 millimeters. But yeah, I don't use the 24. I have it, and I've had it a long time, but I just don't use it. I don't know. Oh, here we go with them clocks again. Let's see. That's 2. See how far out it is. It cuckooed twice. It's 10 p.m. I got to fix that. It's 4 hours off on that part. I don't know. It got out of sync at some point. I don't know why. But yeah, 28 is my favorite. I really like the 28 millimeter. All right. I got to ask you guys your opinion about the state of a scenario that's unfolding on YouTube in the photography world. And it's this whole Jason Lanier debacle. Have y'all been following that at all? Dude, it's getting serious. It's actually got serious, and it's just getting weird. That's the right word. Have y'all noticed that? It's just getting really weird. Oh God, don't get us started. But it's just, I mean, my feed on my YouTube page, when I load it up, it's like every third video is something about that. It's another girl making her version of what the events were, or it's him doing I didn't do it video, or it's somebody else that's, you know, dissecting the scenario. It's like, wow, this is becoming its own thing. It's taking on a life of its own. That's the right language I'm looking for. And Ken Wheeler has become this little bitty, like, not kind of insignificant footnote. They're not even really talking about him about it now. It's between Jason and them models, and it's just getting it's weird. Makes you want, I'll tell you what it does to me. It makes me not want to hire models, because I know you can interact with them in a professional manner. I get that. you know, and don't ever meet with like a model by yourself. You're just asking for trouble. I get that, you know. Always have 3 people present or 4 or whatever and film the entire event. But it just makes me not want to fool with it. I'll just be honest with you, because it sounds like it's just, I don't know what kind of person he is. I don't know him. But it just makes me not want to mess with models just at all. I'll just tell you the truth. Let's see, I missed somebody's comment. Yeah. Yeah, Kelly makes a good point. It's, you know, it's a nightmare, but it's entertaining because they're putting it on YouTube. You know, they're getting views, and with those views, they're also getting ad revenue. So, it's, you know, a little of it might be fabricated for that purpose. I don't know, but it scares me away from working with models, just to tell you the truth. The only way I could even possibly remotely do it would be I would take my wife with me and have her film the event. I mean, tell me then how a model could misconstrue it. Then again, you know, I'm not going to go on location and take them with me to Europe and then make them share a room with me. If you hire employees, you put them up in their own quarters. That to me is fishy. But point being is, I just don't know that I want to fool with it now. I don't see the value in it at this point. You know, unless you're hired by an ad agency, and I'm not going to be. So, that's messed up. On other news, Sony come out with a 35mm f1.8 lens and decided to charge a mint for it. Let's see here. I seen Camera Conspiracies come out with a video about the new Canon point and shoot. And it was really an entertaining video. If y'all haven't watched it, you should watch it, because he does a kind of a sort of a boardroom meeting kind of skit at the beginning of the video, but it's cute. You need to go watch it. And it's about the new Canon point and shoot, whatever it is. I don't remember. It's got a model name, but it's hilarious. It's a really funny video. Right. Yeah, I agree with James. Not surprising if the facts are true, but not why I do photography. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that whole thing, like I said, it just makes me leery of working with models at all. I mean, it's getting kind of too dangerous in today's society, or whatever it is. You know, I just don't want to fool with it. But yeah, if you haven't seen that Canon video that Casey put out over on Camera Conspiracies, you should go watch it. It's good. He's getting better at his deadpan comedy. The longer he does it, the better he gets at it. It's hilarious. I mean, you just got to see it. But he makes some good points. It's like they brought out a camera, a point and shoot, and all the tech now, the video stuff. Yeah, I ain't so super worried about 24 frames per second in a point and shoot camera. I mean, people buy those. They don't buy them for their super high quality video capabilities anyway. They buy them as a point and shoot camera to capture memories. You know, it's typically I'm assuming people that buy those are like retirees who still think they need a camera and they don't think their smartphone captures a good enough snapshot. So they buy one of those little cameras, those little point and shoots. And that's about the only market. Now, that's in the U.S. The rest of the world may see things differently, because I keep forgetting that Canon is a worldwide market. You know, they sell more cameras in Japan and Europe of certain models than they ever do here. So, you know, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around different markets consume different things, you know, and that's a, it's just hard for me to comprehend at times. So, you make a lot of assumptions based on the fact of how things go in your country. And, like, I think Kelly B here, he's in Finland, right? I think. And they may consume technology completely different than we do here in the U.S. So it's a really interesting dynamic when you think about it. What's the right word? I can't think of the word. I hate it when I got a thought and I can't find the word that matches it. That happens a lot. That's why there's a lot of jump cuts in some of my videos, because the thoughts are there, but I can't put them together and get them out of my mouth onto the screen. Cell phones killed off compact point and shoots. Yet they keep making them. Some niche Canon knows about is buying them, apparently. Exactly. And here in the States, the smartphone has pretty much killed off the point and shoot market for the most part. You don't see like the little Elf anymore. That was a real popular camera for about 15 years. That little, I think Canon made the Elf, a little flat camera, and a little round deal on the front of it. And we had the little film point and shoots that were autofocus, and they worked really well for the most part. I don't know. Looking back, they probably had f/16 or f/11 apertures, so that's how they was able to get focus so easily, and everything printed on 4x6 prints, so you really didn't notice if you were a little bit out of focus. It's like, when you're printing, what is that, about 640 by 480 JPEG, so it doesn't take a lot of resolution to look in focus there, but, we got a lot of them floating around. But you look forward and you see the little digitals. Like we had the first couple of digital cameras I have, or had, I still have them. I think I still have both of them. Were one was a Fuji Fine Pix, and that was the first one I bought. And I used it for several years with great results. And it wasn't I think it might have been 2.1 megapixel or something. And it worked fine for most of the stuff I did. Do you really need it? But the smartphones, the tech in them has been improving and improving and improving and improving to the point that, you have it in your pocket all the time. And like this iPhone X I'm filming tonight on, it's got 2 really good cameras on the back. And if you let it do its thing in automatic, it'll usually get a good shot. Sometimes you have to adjust exposure. It gets the shot really well. Surprisingly well, especially if you'll clean the lenses off. A lot of people fail to clean off the lenses. All you do is just rub it on your shirt a little bit first, but it'll take a sharp image, and it'll typically be well exposed. See, Maxim, he was taking 4 megapixel photos this afternoon. They look good, don't they? It don't take a lot. It's not about megapixels a lot of times. Megapixels are what I consider megapixels is options. The more megapixels you have, the more options you have. That's what you gain from megapixels. If you have a 50 megapixel image, then you can actually carve off some of that image and rearrange the composition, because maybe you were too far away and you had a 20 mil. And you wasn't able to get close enough because there was a physical barrier. Say the interstate was in the way, or, there was a train passing by and you couldn't get over there to it because it was dangerous, or any number of physical barriers that were preventing you from closing the distance and getting to the subject. Because that's a fallacy. I need to do my fallacy video. Everybody does, so many fallacies of photography. And one of those fallacies is that people will tell you, you just need to get closer. Sometimes you just climb over that fence and walk over to the end of the runway and lay down and take pictures as they fly overhead. They'll put you in jail. So you've got to come up with alternatives sometimes. And with more megapixels, that's just options. You can crop it in, and you still have megapixels left. If you crop off a fourth on the edges off of a 50 megapixel image, you probably still got 40. 40 is still a lot, and if you've got plenty of light, then you can expose the photo size and you still have a good image and you still have good sharp contrast and micro contrast, your marketing hype. It took me a long time to learn. These big companies, they hire ad agencies and they spend a lot of money to learn how to convince you that you need the newest equipment, because this D series lens is now inadequate for your needs. The AI lens is inadequate. You need the AF lens. And it's because if they don't sell a new product, they go out of business. So they have to do that. And in a perfect world, there's new photographers entering the hobby all the time. And you have a new customer base all the time. But this ain't a perfect world. Low decline of camera sales, and the sales numbers show it. You can see smartphone sales going up, camera sales going down. You know, it's pretty obvious that the smartphones are taking the sales away from smaller, more entry-level cameras. The pros are always going to buy the pro gear because they need the pro gear. You know, you're never going to see. I take that back. You're most likely not going to see a pro using a smartphone in my lifetime to do professional photography. You know, there's been photographers who have used smartphones and made like coffee table books and stuff with them. And like I said, they'll get a good photo. But for serious photography work, they're typically going to have interchangeable lenses, and they're going to have an interchangeable lens camera body, and it's going to typically be one of the best ones that the camera companies make, because they want the best equipment they can get, that they can afford to do the best job possible. But two, it's also about presenting. You look more professional if you have professional equipment. You know, let's see. Long Rider says, I fell for it and bought a A7R II a few years ago for 42 megapixels. Well, what was you shooting before you got the A7R II? That's what I've been looking up here lately. Is I want a sister camera to the XT3, but I don't want to spend the money of an XT3 again to get another one for stills. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a second camera for my little girl to shoot if she wants to go on photo walks with me, that's not heavy or big because she's small, and give her the option of having adaptable lenses like me, because she likes to mess around with them some. And right now I'm letting her use one of these D200 Nikons, and it works fine. But yeah, the XT30 is a great choice, but I've been looking at XT1s and XE1s. Great cameras. But yeah, the XT30 is a great camera. I looked at them. I also looked at the X Pro 1, I think it is. It's a good looking little camera body. I'm off of eBay. Cameras at least, because, you know, with these new ones being basically computers, that's pretty much what they are. It's a handheld computer that has a image sensor built into one side of it. That they're kind of delicate, undamaged, but the camera still works until maybe it gets hot, or you know, it works until you go to charge it, or all sorts of. I start to worry about getting a defective piece of electronic, buying it secondhand off a website or something. You know, I wouldn't mind KEH or B&H Photos. You know, who is it? Robert's Camera has the used camera gear where they check them, and you've got some kind of level of consumer protection there. But just to throw the dice on one off eBay, I'm kind of leery of it now. You know, and maybe buying one off Facebook Marketplace where I could lay my hands on it and turn it on, take some photos with it, you know, smell of it, because you can smell burned electronics. It has a very distinct odor when like semiconductor devices go bad. It has a very distinct odor. Let the smoke out of a transistor inside of it, you'll know it. But buying them off the interwebs is kind of risky business for secondhand. But the XT30 would make a good compliment. But yeah, I want to, and also to have a backup that's not very big for when I go on trips, because I'm trying to, like, we went up the Eastern Seaboard last fall, and I took the D810 and 3 lenses. I think it was just 3 lenses, and I took the 60 millimeter, and then I took I think the 200 mil f4 and the 28 AIS, and that was all I took. And I used the 60 mil almost the whole time without issue. Oh, okay. But that's what I was thinking. I like the X Pro 1, but that XT30 does look good. What else was I gonna go over? Let's see here. I have, that's a filter adapter, and that's a UV filter, isn't it? Yeah. It's got a big fingerprint on it. We all know how much I care about autofocus. I'll have this lens on it. Oh, look, everybody's going by.
Hi.
Yeah, autofocus is not a problem for me. As long as it has good image quality, I could care less. My megapixel or up, I'm down with it. Never buy the first gen of anything. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Don't get the first gen if you can help it. Let's see here. Huh. See, I don't use the electronic shutter unless I'm running silent mode. I use it then, and it's kind of weird because you mash the shutter and nothing happens, except you see it right into the memory card. That's kind of weird to me. I haven't used the electronic shutter but about 3 times since I've had it, and it works really well. I don't know why. I guess I like the sound and the interaction with the camera. So I normally run the mechanical. Run it at 30 frames per second, and I think it actually legit captured like 22 or something, maybe 20. It's actual, that 30 frames isn't quite 30 for some reason. Aha, so you're shooting bracketing 30 frames. There's only what, 1/60th of a second between frame exposures. So you don't have a whole lot of transitional change in the scene. So I don't shoot enough landscape to know things like that, to know those little secret tips and tricks. I like to get out and do we don't have the big vistas here because of the Appalachian Mountains, but I can do the smaller, closer in things. Yeah, you make a good point. 1/15 to 1 second typically. I normally try not to run them over 2 seconds on a movement, because if you do, then the water just turns into this, almost looks more like fog than water. But you can tell I've been welding all day. It's made my nose itch. That heat and the argon always makes my nose itch at the end of the day. I don't know what the deal is with it. Been TIG welding stainless steel all day. Now, bracketing, once it times out, it takes all the pictures. I thought that's a pretty cool little trick. X Pro 1 doesn't have an electronic shutter, so it's a kerchunk, then wait 5 seconds. Never to write it to the memory card. Now, I've got, I don't know, these are pretty fast cards, and it's still, well, I am double down. I am writing RAW files and JPEGs to memory every time, so I am doubling down on files. But I'll burst through 4 or 5 frames and forever to write those things to the card. I don't know what the deal is with that. This is weird. there's a before, and then right about here on my screen is where the comments appear. So I have to go from the camera, which is here, to the comment, which is over here. So I'm constantly shifting back and forth. But I like this format. Well, not this particular format. The whole looking up at me kind of thing is kind of weird, but for the mobile device, really handy. Doing it with the computer, we got stuff to do tomorrow. But I appreciate you guys logging in. I really do. It's been a lot of fun. Is there anything that I went over tonight that y'all had questions about that I glossed over and ran these? Wide angle lenses, and what's, the widest you like to run on like full frame and on crop, of course. I'm gonna drift back into something right quick. I've got 18 to 55. Well, 18 is what, 24 mil, 27 mil equivalent full frame, basically. So it's essentially the same as this lens. So I don't really have anything wider than this 20 millimeter. I don't have the 14 to 24 Trinity and all that. So I never use the 20 or the 24, but I don't go down wider. I don't go to 24. I just don't use it. And sitting here listening to me drivel on about Jason Lanier. You guys have been great. You really have. I appreciate it so much. But I'm gonna lay down. I got to get up in a little while. Yeah. But there'll be some interesting stuff coming pretty soon. So with that, I'll talk to y'all later, and y'all have a good evening. Good night.